Good evening, everybody. In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act notice of this meeting, I can't speak tonight, has been sent to the retrospect and posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Hall. This meeting is also on Zoom. First item of the work session is the public comment period. If there is anyone in the audience that would like to speak, we'll go within the room first, and then if there's anyone on Zoom, we will then go to Zoom. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the commissioners at this time?
Sure. You can stand.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations to you. Good luck. Good job. Frank and Dave, you guys, congratulations as well. I know most of you, but I'll introduce myself again. My name is Sean Leonard. I'm the chairman of the partnership for Haddonfield. I have Andrea and Michael here as well from the partnership. And we just came here to just introduce ourselves again. Wanted to let you know we're excited to work with all of you to make the town a vibrant place for people to come shop. We're in a really good spot. Michael has done an amazing job over the last few years, taking over as the executive director, revitalized some of the events that we have, recreated them, and I think the proof is in the pudding. We have a lot more traffic downtown, the events and stuff. We're just looking forward to working with the rest of you guys as well moving forward, and that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everyone. David, that's all you wanted to talk?
David, under 260 Windsor Avenue. Congratulations to all of you and to Deanna on conducting a clean election.
Never in doubt, by the way.
Thank you, Sal.
Never.
In May 1941, the Germans bombed the hell out of London. And one of the big casualties on the night of the 10th and the 11th was the House of Parliament. The chamber used by the House of Commons was almost completely destroyed. This is a building that had existed for years and years and years. And Churchill had said that the design of that chamber played a great role in the development of the two-party system of government and therefore in democracy. So several years later, when they were talking about rebuilding the Houses of Parliament, and in particular that chamber, he talked to Winston Churchill, talked about the importance of design of buildings. And he said, on the 28th of October, 1943, we shape our buildings and afterwards our buildings shape us. And as somebody who grew up studying architecture, I know that very well. So I wanted to tell you how delighted I am to see this arrangement tonight of you sitting around a table in a configuration that allows you to chat to each other. So much different from what we've had in years past, where the commissioners sat alongside each other and talked to the administrator and to an audience if there was anybody sitting out here. Because the idea of a work session is to chat, to bounce ideas off each other, to argue the pros and cons. It's not to make a presentation to the general public. And so it strikes me that the prior arrangements, and I'm not sure when that was introduced, but I remember when work sessions were held in this room out here, and there were sandwiches and sodas, right, Sean?
We don't have the budget for that.
It was a work session, an idea, as I said, to float ideas, to talk about your vision for things. And so I'm thrilled that we're going to be having this arrangement for work sessions in the future and predict that it's going to be much more productive. And I look forward to a successful future for this commission. So again, congratulations.
Thank you. It's not easy on the AD though. We just got it set up for the
Nothing's easy on the AV.
No.
Or Jason. No worries.
Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak at this time? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak at this time? Okay, then we're going to move on with the agenda. The first item to talk about tonight is portfolio assignments. You were provided with paperwork that show the original breakdown of departments within the three categories: public affairs and public safety, revenue and finance, public works, parks, and public property. Also under each of those categories, in addition to your municipal departments, is the various boards, commissions, committees that typically have gone under each of those categories. Before we get into discussions as to who would like to take which, just a little bit of background on a couple of things. We have had years where commissioners have taken this list exactly as it is. We've had years where things have been switched around. You are able to do whatever you would like within that to some degree. I will talk about a position that was not there. This is for department's sake. This is based for employees. It is not necessarily so much for how things operate. So I want to just go to the one employee that is in a position under a department because you're under a department, but really is for all of you in addition to the same way I am. And that is our communications person. So
Applies to me too.
yeah. So while that is under one department, that position really should be open to all three of you to do whatever for your own departments, when it's collaboration, when it is something specifically coming from the three of you. And that is a direction we would like to take that back into. So regardless as to where that employee falls under this list, that's truly the way it's supposed to be handled. I think each of you brings something to the table that will, with ideas that will allow us to better communicate with our residents. And we look forward to implementing those. But I just wanted to clarify that before we moved forward in deciding who's going to do what. So with that, the three of you can start having a conversation as to which you want and if anything needs to change from the way that this list is currently.
Sure, well, I remember in the debate, everyone wanted public safety except for me. So I just wanted to ask both of you what your thoughts are.
I'll go first. So, I ran with a strong bias and emphasis toward public safety. And I think with my military background, the fact that at one point, actually, I was a firefighter, having gone through 4 firefighting schools and a chemical, biological, radioactive school in the Navy, I have the background for it. And I think it is a position that it's a lot of work. And I think having 4 years of experience as a commissioner leading up to it is a good feed spot, so to speak, for the next position. So I think I can jump in this position a little easier, having already been a commissioner for 4 years. How do you feel with it?
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I'm attracted to public affairs and I realize these two components can't be split up. My entire career is built on communication, digital services. I would categorize under this modernizing our website, our app, our ways of communicating with the public. Where I realize that Joanna, who is the comms person, would be split among all of us. The actual tools we use and how we modernize those, I think falls into public affairs as well. So that is why I'm very interested. Yeah, but I'm happy to negotiate.
What other things about public affairs do you think public affairs? Because a big part of public affairs, I think, is, there's the communication aspect, but then there's also the affairs of the public, the biggest thing being downtown.
Mhm.
And the partnership for Haddonfield. I think that's a big part of what could be public affairs, but that's not necessarily a public safety job.
No, that's, I agree with that one. I think that's also a public affairs job. So I've had a chance to talk to the partnership here. I think it's the bread and butter of our town to make sure that that organization functions well, has the support it needs. It's where I spend 99% of my time when I'm not home, so I'm very invested in their success as well. And so that's another reason why like, public affairs is something that I'm really drawn to.
Sure.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
No, no, it's not that.
If I may just interrupt for just a second, knowing that this conversation was going to occur and, you know, public affairs and public safety go together because statutorily, it's based on 5 commissioners, and if you only have 3, which ones merge? If you look up what public affairs is in any of those commission form of governments that has 5, it's none of the stuff that you're talking about.
Mhm.
It's health and safety officer. I have a list of things because I actually pulled it to say, well, what is it? Because knowing that when communications came up, former commissioners 20 years ago had it under revenue and finance. The bid is under revenue and finance. So that's kind of those things that you're talking about. Again, some of those things can be switched around. Those committees and stuff don't need to stay under those. So public affairs, it sounds like you're talking about some of these different committees and some of the focus with Joanna and stuff, not necessarily what the main functions and departments are under each of those categories. So that's why I just wanted to point that out.
Would you be open to me taking the partnership?
Partnership falls under revenue and finance.
Oh, I see.
No, the partnership falls under revenue and finance. So I think of revenue and finance with that falling is the same as the rec council versus the rec utility. Like the rec utility is a monetary function. It collects money to then be able to reinvest in the town fields and things like that. But the rec council is something that needs to, it's about scheduling, it's about field maintenance, it's about all that stuff. So that's almost like, that's a public works type of activity. Same thing with the bid. The bid to me is insurance. I mean, is the tax. It's 10% tax that goes and gets collected by all the, you know, by us from the residents to improve the downtown. But the actual functions of the partnership for Haddonfield are the bread and butter parts. And I will say, I know myself, I have too many ideas to not steamroll the partnership for Haddonfield. So I wouldn't want to be the partnership for Haddonfield representative from the commission. But the bid tax is something that absolutely lives inside revenue and finance. So I see them as 2 different things. Do you know what I'm trying
And
to
that's,
say?
yep, I can understand the finance part of it. So that's why Business Improvement District is in red, because that is a committee. I will disagree with you for rec council and rec commission because
It's
the way,
new and it's different.
well, and the way the commission was set up, all of those things that you talk about are part of the commission.
Yeah, sure.
So I understand the utility portion of it. Again, it is all, that is currently under Public Works. But again,
Yeah, and I mentioned it
things can
because I've been
flow.
putting in a tremendous amount of work in recreation. I'd like to continue to do it.
Mhm.
But it's not one of those, and I was very honest even with that group. If whoever got Public Works really wanted to work on the recreation problem, I wouldn't stand in their way, but I would like to continue to try to work on that problem. So that's why I mentioned it in the first place, and I know that bounces us all around and takes us off this task.
Well, then why don't we try and go back to, so public affairs and public safety.
Yes.
Frank has indicated that the departments that fall under that, he's very much interested in overseeing.
Mhm.
From what I've heard, from what you've said, your interest is more in some of the communications and the ways that we communicate with our residents. That does not necessarily fall under public safety.
I think that's fair. my master's degree is also in urban planning, so I
Mhm.
see planning board, historic preservation, zoning.
Mhm.
It-
And those are the committees. And so, again, so the departments, if you're, are you interested in overseeing the departments? Frank's interested in overseeing the departments. Then we can talk about the committees underneath it.
You're quiet. Are you-
So I'm interested in,
All of it,
in public safety. I mean, you
Right.
said the true departments, you know,
Right.
fire, police, HA.
right.
So, I mean, that's the starting point there, and, you know, I know they're not on the call right now. I know I have support of several of the agencies, and they were supporting pretty heavily for me to spearhead those.
Okay, that's the department portion.
Okay.
Are you
I'm okay
still
with that.
interested you're okay with him taking the department portion?
I'm okay with that, yes.
Okay,
Right, and from a planning board standpoint, Frank is currently on the planning board, do you want to continue on the planning board?
So I've been on planning board and zoning board, so I've done both.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
but
not
planning-
on zoning board right now.
yeah,
Used to be.
Correct.
Yeah, for 2 years I was on zoning, and for 4 I've been on planning.
but planning is one of those mayor's designated.
No, you got both. It's both.
Oh.
So this is one of those things where last time around, Frank was public works. Colleen was public safety, but Colleen did not want to be on planning board. Frank had an interest being on planning board, so they switched. And so planning board went under Frank and he became the commissioner designee on planning board. So the question is, Frank, do you want to stay on as the commission person on planning board? Or is that up for one of the other two to take in, or are you, you're good either way?
I mean, to me, it would make sense to continue with that, just because I do have the tribal knowledge of being part of all those, with the exception of the Alliance.
For planning board, so
Just planning board.
yes,
comment, yeah.
so just planning board, so just bear in mind, if you do that, which is fine, by state statute, mayor has a right to be on planning board under our form of government. If you choose to be on planning board, I'm assuming Dave's gonna be the mayor, we have this next topic, but if you choose to do that, and Frank is also on planning board, you know, we have two commissioners showing up at a planning board meeting.
But it's a public meeting.
I understand, but, you know, just,
Yeah.
that would lead towards a designee.
Yeah, no, right, and,
Just some food for
Sure.
thought, just bear that in mind. And I know it's a public meeting and it's noticed and.
so that wouldn't be, also, it wouldn't be an issue like that, it wouldn't be a quorum issue for the commission?
I mean, technically, you're on there as planning.
Yeah.
It's publicly, it's
Just-
publicly noticed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a separate docket. There's a different solicitor. The scope and the powers are more limited. You only hear applications that come before you. But again, that great
The
thing,
appearance.
the appearance, you know, the
Sure.
appearance of impropriety, which, you know, lawyers love in the state of New Jersey, but it's the appearance of impropriety is there'll be two commissioners on there. You're only supposed to be talking about a planning board application that's in front of you. That's your jurisdiction, but if during the course of the planning board application, traffic safety comes up, and all of a sudden now we're talking about police, and you're not talking about a particular planning board application with variances and things like that, the appearance there could tend to get a little muddy.
And the only thing I think about the planning board is you did a great job on planning board and we got a master plan. You know, if you had the energy to go to continue to then, because our job's then gonna be all the ordinances, so we're gonna be really involved in the planning board's output.
Correct.
But it's not the same as have you been for the last few years on the planning board, because that's been a ton of work on the master plan. I'm not particularly interested in planning board, but as a designee, she has an urban planner background, so like that almost fits.
Can I
Right.
offer one more way to think about this? Again, food for thought, but you've been running revenue and finance.
Yep.
You've been running public works. The only distraction is my introduction. So why didn't I take the thing that was left open? So you can continue on the things that you had already been working on. And I just cover the base of picking up where the last person left off.
That might not be everybody's strengths. You know, and I'm not. I was the only one who said I was interested in something other than public safety. My strength, I think, is in administration. That's what I do for a living. But from the firefighters, police officers and EMS, 4 years ago, I thought, oh, Frank's gonna be the public safety director because of his background standpoint. And then, but Colleen was already that.
Mhm.
So there's that, oh, it just continued on. And although Frank did a great job with public works, it just seems like his background's in public safety and yours is in urban planning, which isn't necessarily public works, but that's where when we decide that we want to make a physical change to the town, who implements it? The Public Works Department. Like that's how I see the difference. And that not necessarily, there's an opportunity to put us in the best position with our particular strengths, not just because something's open. And it isn't just, and so just kind of like what Sharon just said about the departments of public safety and the desire for improved communication, they actually can be separated out, not by statute, but by practice. And we can memorialize that practice at the table right now.
If I could say just one thing about Public Works, and Sharon knows some of this, in the next year here, we have, we'll get the proposals back, we may be trying a different technology on the roads than what we've been doing over the last decade, a little bit less than that or so. So that requires an analysis of, do we go down the current path or do we go down an alternative path, and the communication associated with that. We have the new leaf truck, the single unit leaf truck that we ordered and is.
You know, I like leaf trucks.
The slowest means ever,
I think
Better, I just signed the check.
No,
what I'm trying to say is while he's done a lot of work in Public Works, there are things, I can tell you with your computer background, there are things in all of our departments that we can look
Yeah.
to take your assistance from. And there are some specific things in Public Works that could do it. I'm not pushing you in that direction, but just, I think that's kind of where he's going with some
the
of that stuff.
Biolytics, where we're doing analysis of the streets, that was our first year doing it this year, and we had I think some success with it, but it was
There
our
were some
first year
bumps.
doing it. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for, for someone with an urban planning background. I mean, it's not perfect, but even an urban planning background in Haddonfield, we're not exactly splitting atoms here. It's
Well,
it's.
and
We
the other,
literally aren't.
the bigger, honestly, the bigger thing, the way it had been is also with Public Works and property. For example, the oversight of the redevelopment projects or of the buildings at least that were still there, were falling under Frank. So that is to some degree the planning that is going on currently in town. That's some of what falls under there.
The redevelopment zone of Crow's Woods, which we have to develop and we
Correct.
have to kind of run and see. There's a lot there.
And maybe my last question on this, if you don't mind indulging me. Can you speak a little bit about your philosophy or maybe your vision for public safety?
Improved communication. I think the leadership in these departments have to be empowered. I think that there's a lot that falls to, from what I've seen over the last 4 years here, that seems to be set at the chief level. I would encourage more that they push down to the lieutenant level and have smaller assignments to each of those people to have a little faster response. And I would like to improve the communication, where I think from what I've seen, a lot of the stuff is to get CC'd on it, getting sent to the chief level, getting sent to this and that. I think there's a faster way that the communication can make it to the respective departments, and the respective departments should be taking action on it. And and you're probably too young to remember this. And a Philly guy, you will remember this. If you remember, Frank Rizzo used to have that. Yeah.
Right, Chris, it's free.
But you remember, he used to have that call-in show where. Do you remember this back? You call in and people call in, there's a dumpster left outside my neighborhood, and and he would have his department heads there and say, "Are you're tasked with taking care of it? You get out there and that." Is what I'd like to have, some sort of virtual format of that, where it doesn't have to go to this person, to this person to make the chief, back down to the person who can take action on it. let's get the information as fast as possible, as close as possible to the person who can implement it and get them out there and doing it. And, you know, that's not dissimilar to what I was doing with Public Works over the last 4 years with our rolling action item plan, where we just add to it every single week and assign people, assign date, and just get it done.
Is there, so when you're pushing it down, what do you mean? Like, if there's a traffic enforcement complaint come in, that the person who gets the call just goes out and then just reports the outcome of it versus being told to go there?
So, you know, I just,
I don't know much about it. So
yeah, and I mean, I know the basics, but just from the information I'm gleaned, it seems like a lot of this stuff is making it to the chief level, where if you're expecting the chief to make a decision on every single thing that's taking place, it's gonna be very difficult. So, you know, I'd like to see that pushed back down to, you know, at lieutenant levels, where someone is focused on, you know, maybe traffic, or someone is focused on, thefts and break-ins, which is kind of how it is today. But also, you know, I would like to do some of the data of, you know, we've had a lot of accidents, for example, in Woodland, you know, tasking someone with that to say, like, what are the demographics that people, you know, having the accidents there? If it's primarily 17-year-olds and they're Haddonfield residents, there's something you can do there where you work with the schools and you implement a better training and better, you know, and you're talking to both the students who are driving and also the parents and saying, here's the impact on your insurance. Here's the impact of, you know, what happens, you know, with the kids, you know, if they get suspended because of driving, because they blew through a stop sign and stuff like that. I think there's a better way to get the word out there, you know, with communication, and assign a lieutenant to that or a liaison to that, to actually take it, run with it, and take ownership for it. So it's not chief doing this and chief doing that. And chief can be more of the, pardon the pun, the traffic cop of all these different departments, and really getting out there aggressively. Same can be said for the fire department and, you know, some of the other departments.
Okay. Have you two connected on this? You and Chief Cutler, I'm sorry. You haven't officially met, I don't think. Have you had to connect on this yet?
This is just, you know, some ideas that I've had on, you know, just over the years, and taking feedback from, you know, informal conversations and stuff like that. I mean, one of the things over the last 4 years, and I've been respectful of, is that if someone's a department head, you kind of have to let them, like, you know, run with their department, because there's a lot of information that you're gleaning. You know, you have to kind of trust that when I presented to the other commissioners, like, hey, you know, we've done our due diligence on this leaf truck, we visit other municipalities, we like, at some point they say, okay, well, I think that's the best solution, because it seems like you've done your due diligence. You know, I wasn't going to insert myself into other people's departments unless the situation warranted it. You know, but, you know, having run businesses for, I graduated college in '95 and left the military in '02. So having run businesses for like 23 years, you know, generally speaking, I know how to pretty quickly assemble teams, you know, find out what you want to start, stop, continue, and then what are your JDIs? If you're just do it, what are some things you put in place the next 2 weeks and make it happen? And, you know, some of those things were like, you know, the tree program we did at Public Works, for example, where, you know, I quickly identified an unmet need, identified where there was an issue in the town, brainstorm with, you know, the folks in the department, came with some great ideas, and within a couple of months that was in place, and we eclipsed everyone's results in the past. I have no reason to believe that, you know, I can do that with the police department, I can do that with Public Works, I can do that with an underwater diving construction company, a compressed air business, a commercial HVAC business, and two military departments. So
I don't want to beat the, I understand I'm dragging this on a little bit, and I appreciate everyone coming along on the ride with me. So my philosophy on how we do this is that I don't plan to gatekeep any of the departments that I run. I respect what you said, that you know, I'm respectful of the department heads and what they do, but I don't intend to keep my folks or the teams that I'm overseeing away from anybody else. You don't have to go through me. And I hope that we can establish that working relationship, that if I need to speak to Chief Cutler or Chief Foreman, that we can have that relationship.
yeah, so there's never been any, I mean, if I have an issue with the police department or something I hear, I go to Chief Cutler all the time. I mean, it's not like that's, but I think when you're talking about
the organization and the structure of how department works. There is a point where I'm happy to take input and stuff like that, but, like, so let's say you have Public Works, you wouldn't want me parachuting in there and say, gee, Bill Over, what, didn't it work better when we did it this way? I mean, like,
No, of course.
at some one point, like, you just say, okay, well, I had it, you got it, I'm done here, and you have to take the next level, because you don't want me second guessing things any more than I would want.
And I
any
wouldn't,
predecessor second.
if I'm second guessing it, you and I would do that together and not, we would come out with a unified vision before we talk to folks. So that would be my
Yeah.
approach. Okay. So in the interest that we move forward, I'm comfortable with you taking public safety. I will take Public Works. To the extent that you are all comfortable with the rest of the conversation, we can go ahead.
So we have the department split up. I mean,
Yeah.
the question is there any movement of the committees? Like, for example, you indicated you would like recreation, which is under Public Works.
But I would really like to see citizens.
Okay, you'd like both of those. And it's here is interested in having the business improvement district,
Right.
which is under yours.
It's 2-1. That's not a fair split.
Reading on that end.
So I will say there's certain ones that do go together. So Shade Tree Commission makes sense to be in Public Works.
Yes.
Because that's a everyday conversation.
Yes.
And probably Environmental Commission.
They're gonna miss you, Frank.
I mean,
Being sarcastic. Okay. So love the shade tree, love the environment. I'll take those both. I won't fight you on
they
it.
are better fits, I think, with Public Works.
Okay, and then,
And just because we didn't address it, I'm not running from Public Works. I love Public Works. I think Public Works is, it is a great way to meet a lot of people in town, and
Not necessarily on the best way, though.
Oh, no, I get it. No, right. I disagree with you,
you
Sharon.
solve a lot of people's problems, and
You
you
do.
learn a lot, and like you interact with a lot of people. I think it's like, if it wasn't for the fact that I also want to flex a different muscle, I would have no problem keeping Public Works.
Hmm.
I think it's a great organization. You have great people in it.
Why specifically took those out?
And I would agree,
They
it's
were
an
changing.
instant reward
So-
because you can solve people's problems. It's not systemic, like, how can we fix speeding? It's,
you guys, I'm already sold.
yeah, no, but you're newer in town, so now we're just trying to tell you that it's a great way to meet people.
No, I believe you. I'm now fighting over, Senior Citizen Commission and Rec Commission. You
I-
want both?
Well, the Recreation Commission is in a precarious spot. I would like to solve the problem of public-private partnerships that we've been working on. After that, I have no problem. But we're just in the middle of it. I didn't make any promises. I was very clear that I might not be the commissioner after the 13th that would work on this problem. I would just like to work on this problem. That's a problem. But the Senior Citizen Commission is more, that's a voice I want to continue to offer to the senior citizens, which is, it's different. Recreation's a problem to solve. Senior citizens are like a voice to champion. That's how I just feel about it. I've fallen in love with the Senior Citizen.
You know, I feel totally strongly about that too. I'm happy to be an advocate for the senior citizen community, so.
Well, and I know you have experience there. I wouldn't, if you want it, that's fantastic. One thing I will offer is I'd like to donate things to the Senior Citizen Commission. It's part of what my $113 a week goes towards is donating things to the Senior Citizen Center. I will continue to do that, even if whatever you would say they need.
I will always open door, like,
Yeah,
if I end up, I would like Senior Citizen Commission.
yeah, no, which is fine.
And open door, you're welcome to join us anytime. Does that work?
Well,
Well, I'm not allowed.
technically, he can't come to the meetings.
Caucus.
But I can help them plan, in the garden. I was very excited for them to get the garden
Yeah,
share.
that's
Is
fine.
that okay? Can we do
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
Okay. No meetings. I
Yeah,
will
no
report
meetings.
back. Okay. Do you wanna,
There is an open position that you'll then have a say for,
Mhm.
because they're talking about adding somebody to that board, how to be your decision.
We'll go over it.
I love it. Do you want to temporarily, you said you wanna see through what you've been working on the rec stuff. Do you wanna switch rec with bid?
Well, I would totally switch rec with it, like just keep rec and you do partnership for have, be fine with that, unless Frank wants burning desire for partnership.
I'm fine,
Yeah,
but
and honestly, the only reason is I have too many ideas and I can take all the air out of the room if I want to. So I don't want to do that.
I'm totally fine with that. So you want to hold on to rec?
Yeah.
I'll take on bid and, or the partnership, and then when you're through the work with rec and you want to revisit that, can we revisit it?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Is that okay? All right,
yeah, no, that's great.
okay. Did we do it?
Just one
Is
second.
there more? Oh, no. there's more.
No, but there's a little more. So we have two to talk about, Municipal Alliance and HRC. Human Relations. Do you want human relations? It's under your portfolio.
I would like to try it. I mean, I've been to Municipal Alliance. I was the Municipal Alliance rep when I was on the school board for a few years. And then I was glad that Kevin had it because, but there's gonna be a change in leadership there soon.
That
It's a
whole
good way
thing needs
shape
to
it.
be completely revamped.
Yes, exactly right. It needs to be completely redone. They're doing a good job for promotion, but not really like for promoting themselves, which
Yeah,
is,
they
it just needs work.
It needs a completely.
So, and
revamped.
it's one of those.
Human
needs to-
relations.
No,
No.
Municipal Alliance.
Municipal.
Municipal line, okay.
Yeah. HRC is actually in a good place right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're actually in a good place.
So and that's basically leaving it alone then.
Uh,
Well, no,
just
municipal-
making sure Frank realizes Municipal Alliance is under public safety.
Yeah, because that typically goes with the police, municipal alliance. Are you okay giving that up?
One fund committee for another.
yeah.
Wait, you're giving it up?
No,
You're taking it?
it's, I'm telling you, it's under public
It is
safety.
Under public
Yes.
safety.
So
Yes.
you're acknowledging you have it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So the only two committees that are truly changing is rec is for right now going to Revenue and Finance, and Business Improvement District is going to Public Works.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Senior Citizen Commission.
Senior,
stay.
moving down.
Senior Citizen Commission is going to stay at Public Works.
Yeah, stay with public.
Thanks. Oh,
Okay.
I see.
A tier is going to have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Now, the only other thing that I talked about in my memo to you guys was the affordable housing nonprofit. That does not have a home here because we created it and we set it up so that the commissioners always have one appointment out of the 5 or 7 or whatever it is. Yeah, I
I
don't.
think it's 5.
Um,
5.
and they have dwindled in numbers and need to be built back up. They are in the middle of a number of things that they have been working very hard over the last year and are actually making some great progress. So wasn't sure if rather than appointing someone to the board, if you wanted it to make it one of your portfolio and for at least now until they get a little further along, the commissioner is the appointment. Or,
I see, to just
Is
see
it
how it's
7?
going, it could be,
7, yeah.
to see how it actually is run.
right. At least for
It's
now,
pretty important.
that way,
It's been a black hole for me and probably for you too.
Well, not necessarily, because a lot of the calls will go to.
Oh,
Public
right,
Works,
right.
Right.
so-
Right.
You get a lot of that.
And I mean, not that I'm trying to run from it, in my opinion, it would make sense until it's fully established for it to be with Public Works, because you do get the calls and whether you have responsibility for not, it's basically just pivoting and assigning to
yeah,
the people who have responsibility.
there could be an argument under all of them.
Yeah.
It could just be just as much a financial as it is with public
Public
works and property. That's why I'm putting it out on the table. It's not assigned to anyone at this time. I would make the recommendation that we assign it to someone, and at least for now, you're the appointment.
So I can see it fitting under Public Works in the implementation phase, but if we're talking about like the discussion phase, to me, that makes sense under Revenue and Finance.
Well, it exists, but if it exists right now, so it's not under discussion, it needs a big improvement. Or at least a big understanding, not an improvement, better understanding of the commission about their needs.
What they're
Which
doing, how they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy,
They're funded by us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'd be happy to do it, but I agree with Fred, like, on the long term, that is, we have to maintain we have to help them maintain their properties, and we have the staff in Public Works that help maintain those properties.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So not,
Oh.
Yeah,
not
we-
necessarily.
Okay.
we
Yeah.
don't actually, they pay to staff it. The only reason, the other thing to consider too is you're dealing with, not that you go to all of them, but you know, you're dealing with 4 boards here, 2 boards here, 4 boards here.
Yeah, I would take it.
It's just another thing to kind of throw out there. There is some, again, not that you have to go to all of them.
I mean, I have a ton of affordable housing contacts, so if you ever need that, I can provide that, but I'd like the division of 2, 4, 4. Yeah, it just makes sense.
So housing agency,
Okay. There are some other appointments and stuff that we can talk about after we get through the next stage. Well, as further, we talk about appointments further on, just again, I think we provided you with some information. We will talk more in depth about appointments at the next meeting because they will be on the June meeting. This way it gives you guys some time to kind of look at it, ask questions, gives us time to do a call for more, folks interested. If we don't have enough people on the list for some of the positions that we have, you're gonna be reappointing people. There are some vacancies. Thing to remember, whichever of the 3 of you becomes mayor, you're automatically on the library board. And the mayor has a designee on planning board. And that is solely the mayor's choice. So
There's no vacancies on. planning board.
there is a vacancy, but it's it's an environmental commission, so tomorrow night at the environmental commission, I have to talk to them about picking
appointing somebody.
one of their members has to be the planning board appointment.
So the appointment to the board for the planning board, it's not one of us.
So there's 2.
Oh.
Whoever, the commissioner of public safety is automatically a member of planning board.
Naturally.
The mayor has an appointment. It can be the mayor.
I see.
It
Okay.
has not been for the past 21 years and probably, some period of time before that. They've always had an appointment.
Okay, got it.
Okay, next discussion is mayor and deputy mayor.
So what's the philosophy of public safety? Oh, it's on the public affairs side.
For- No, it's under the construction.
Oh, in the construction
But
office.
yeah, it's a public
Right.
safety.
Yeah,
thing.
sure, because
Mhm.
that's the safety issue.
Yeah, construction, planning, zoning and HPC are all under construction.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So typically in Haddonfield, the mayor has always been the highest vote getter. But that there's nothing in stone, that's just been practice, so the 3 of you need to have a discussion as to who's going to be mayor. It is mostly ceremonial. The mayor signs documents. Tends to have to go to a few more functions than everyone else does, although you're all invited. The mayor is typically expected to show up a little more often. Anything I'm missing with that appointment?
I don't think so.
Sign,
Council mayors.
sign the
Yes.
sign the contracts, Camden County Mayors
Association,
Association, which is another meeting per month. So you sort of liaison
And
with neighboring.
The State
municipalities.
Mayors Association is another.
The state mayors, so there's a couple more meetings. Per month, per year, some more
And
obligations.
so the sort of right, and for less boards, because one of the boards that revenue sits on also is the JIF. So I have a separate designation as the representative or the, what am I
JIF
called?
and HIF.
JIF.
The
JIF
JIF,
commissioner.
the JIF and HIF.
So that's,
Commissioner.
that's the
Commissioner.
joint insurance fund.
Like I
JIF is
file a
health
separate,
insurance fund.
conflict of interest paperwork for that and everything. So that comes along with
Revenue and finance. Yeah.
So even though there's less boards, as Sharon described it, there are actually at least more meetings that I have to go to every month and from a completely different organization as that role.
Yeah, joint insurance fund, deals with.
That also can be something you can, in the
You can-
future,
Yeah.
you can designate to
You can-
someone
you
else.
can have
to
a
do that.
designate.
It does not, it doesn't,
Does
well,
that have to be another commissioner?
no,
No.
that position does not have to be a commissioner.
Well, that's interesting.
That's
It's
just-
interesting, but
Yeah, that's
actually,
just-
where the hell I'm.
Yeah,
Commissioner Dorn did it for years after we would have
Oh.
been. Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, but as the mayor, you're looking at
No.
a few more meetings, New Jersey Conference of Mayors, the Camden County Mayors Association, and that could be as few as, one per month, two, sometimes you host, there's other committees that they have, so you're
Yeah,
tying up some
I
more.
think
how much you want to be involved.
I think the town or the person who gets the most votes being the mayor is very sensical, very logical, because this is how the town has spoken. That's the
Mhm.
person they've chosen. So I'm happy to support that. Well, now I say this, I'm just happy to be here. I have no intention of.
It's early, it's your first meeting.
Of becoming mayor, but I understand your both interests, so like, you guys can have that discussion, but I.
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, and for two reasons. One, I think the mayor exists on Saturday. I've said this to Sharon, she doesn't agree with me, but it's kind of like the person on Saturday. It's ceremonial. It's showing your face downtown, which I love doing. Talking to people and saying hi to every person that walks away. And if you've ever walked with me, that's all I do. And you cut the ribbons, you sign the paperwork, you make people feel like they want to be here. And I have a personal thing of when I umpire like the championship game at the Little League, they'll be like, "Oh, it's so small town, right? Oh my God, the mayor, that'll continue on whether or not mayor still be commissioner on.
I'm not gonna fight it.
That was a big.
You want those extra meetings? Sure.
Okay,
And here's
just,
the problem then.
well,
It's not a problem, it's an opportunity.
so under our form of government, the Commissioner of Revenue and Finance is automatically the deputy mayor unless they are the mayor.
Correct.
So now the two of you have to decide who's going to be deputy mayor. In his absence, basically you run a meeting, or if there's an extended absence, you sign paperwork.
Right, if there's extended absence or other extenuating circumstance, then the mayor can't sign a piece of paper.
Right, then
Then
you
the
sign
deputy
it.
mayor with the, either following the vote or the law, then sign.
Are you planning any long surgeries or? Okay.
I'm ridiculous, so I could buffer with a big weed if I needed.
I'd like to be deputy just because I've been doing this for 4 years and, I just have more experience doing it and can jump in as needed and have held meetings and, have signed documents on behalf. It's not like it's not the most complicated stuff on earth, but it does help, I think, to have some experience there.
Fair. I thought it was just a ceremonial role though.
It is.
Yeah. Let's see, how do I feel about this? It's fine.
Okay, moving on. Next item is the meeting calendar. We set the meetings up at the beginning of the year. They can change if an unexpected work conflict comes up, if unexpected vacation comes up, we can always change meetings as long as we have time to be able to publish it. The meetings were set up this time around that we have one work session on the second Monday of every month. And then we have one action meeting on the fourth Monday of every month. There are a couple minor changes when you get to certain months because there's holidays or other things that pop up without having looked at the exact dates. So the calendar itself may slightly change, but that is typically what our meeting schedule is. So since this is a new group of folks sitting at the table, we wanted to put it out there in case there's any changes you wanted to make to that. We've had times where commissioners, they used to meet
Work sessions on Mondays, Tuesdays were
regular meetings, and then you had them where work sessions, sometimes they started in the afternoon, then we had them start later in the day, but earlier, then we had them start late. They've been all over the place. So we wanted to put it out there so that the three of you could have a conversation and decide if you wanted to stick to the schedule, at least for the next 6 months, and then redecide what you want to do moving forward or what you wanted to do.
I don't know about 6 months, but I have opinions about the meeting schedule.
The advantage of the 6 months is they were published at the beginning of the year.
Sure, no, I mean about changing the dates, I mean just about adding. and not action meetings. I think one action meeting a month is fine, especially if we really get into the routine of respecting, introducing an ordinance, giving that month, 30 days, and then at the next action meeting, doing the second reading and hearing on it. So I really like that cadence. It just seems to be that there's agenda meetings, and then there's stuff that doesn't fit the agenda meetings. And we never really seem to get to the stuff that doesn't fit the agenda meeting. As somebody who came in 7 months of doing it, it seemed so prescribed that I understand the prescription of the walkthrough agenda meeting, so that things like a resolution or an ordinance, it only has its title when we're talking about it. By the time it's put on for first reading and then for second reading, it has its body. But at least if it's listed in a work session, it's only listed by title, we can talk about it. But that doesn't seem part of the agenda process, right? It seems to be like, hey, this is something that's coming up. I just think we should have 2 working sessions a month and then 1 action meeting a month. I don't feel super strongly about it because 3 of us have to have schedules that could fit it. But I really do think that there's an agenda meeting about crossing i's and dotting t's about what we're going to talk about at the action meeting. Get up to date on things that aren't ready but need to be done. But then there's just other topics we never really seem to get to talk about, which are things like, what are we going to do about how the road gets closed for events, and being able to ask if say it was my responsibility, right? So just use you for Partnership for Habitat. You came to, well, they have some great ideas. I really don't know if these are great ideas. Can I pick your brain about it? We don't have any time set aside to do anything like that because both meetings are just so prescribed.
Well, actually, you can.
I know we can, but it just doesn't seem that we have.
That's not how things were running. You now you're a new board. You can make the determination to do however you want. Some of those things go in that last little one where it's commissioners talk about whatever they want to talk about.
Right, but we're not solicited to actually add things to it, which
You are able to at any time,
I get that.
but it's how you want to move forward and do it. You can
Yes.
also add meetings at any time.
Right, and that's why I was saying, I didn't want to mess with the
Right.
published schedule because it's published, but I think the 3 of us can talk about adding meetings.
Mhm.
If I could impress on, I think the need to have, especially around the budget season, because we should have a separate walkthrough meeting from the budget being put in front of us meeting, because this is the one time I'd love to hear public works ideas about what they want to spend on, public safety work about what they want to spend on, and out of revenue and administration, maybe headcounts that we want to expand.
You can have I mean, and it's typical in a lot of municipalities where for the budget, you can have a separate budget meeting.
Yeah.
We'd have
Yeah.
to add it.
And we
We've
just,
had those.
we
Yeah,
have,
that's-
this
So that-
year has gotten very screwy with the budget
With the
because
The election.
we have the election
And
and
not just our election, government.
yeah, we had everything and we were dealing nonstop with Bancroft. And so a lot of the focus and time and energy were consumed by those things and not being able to finish and focus. I will tell you, Revenue and Finance Commissioner has met individually in the past with all of the departments to have them explain to them what their needs are before that final document's done. We've had it where we've had meetings, separate, we've had it where we've tried to talk about it in the work session and that never went well, and they just finally took whatever was put in front of them. And, we've also had where, we've had special meetings and you have one for the budget itself, you have one for capital. Or you can do them all together depending on how much is going on with the budget. I've talked about the fact that we should schedule one of those for early June so that we can actually introduce and, get our budget adopted and move forward. In the future, I would anticipate that those are going to be in February next year rather than this late, typically moving forward. But you can schedule, again, it's the same, you can have a special meeting as long as you have time to publish it. You can add meetings anytime you decide you have stuff you want to talk about.
I mean, the minimum is 48 hours notice. I mean, we could have, there's certain exceptions statutorily for emergencies,
Right.
but statutorily, as long as
As long as we can get the Right, as long as we can get the notice to the paper 48 hours before their published paper comes out, then we can add a meeting.
We're running out of time.
Yes.
7:30.
Yeah.
The next one.
So no changes to the meeting schedule at this time?
The only thing, June 23rd, I'm not gonna be here. I'll be out of
Okay.
town.
Okay.
So we either change it or if there's nothing heavy on the agenda, fine, if I missed it.
Is that an action meeting or a work session?
June
That'll
23rd.
be
An action meeting.
Yeah.
Well,
That'll be an action
Yeah, I would
meeting.
rather reschedule an action meeting. Work session, I can understand, like sometimes you just kind of move on, but an action meeting.
And there are gonna be things on that meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be budget.
It's gonna be budget. You're gonna have fourth round, acceptance of the fourth round plan.
And it has to be in June. It must be. in June.
Must be in June.
You want to push it a week to the 30th?
Well, it's really too
Or a week
tight.
early.
That's too tight
Wait,
for,
are you gone that whole week?
I'm gone
The 23rd?
I fly back whatever that Wednesday is.
25th,
25th.
25th.
Yeah,
So Thursday?
26th,
I
be open.
my guy.
I charter. I could do it Thursday or I could do the preceding week.
Well, we probably want to build some time between the June 9th one, so.
Well, you could always bump the June 9th to June 2nd. And you could do, you
Well,
could
that's
bump it,
like next week.
yeah.
Mhm.
No. Let's do June 9th, June 26th, if that works with you.
Thursday, the 26th, the only thing, Thursday meetings, I wouldn't want to conflict with the school board meetings.
Oh, what time's that?
I don't know if the 26th is the school board meeting. I'll look it up.
And I will tell you, between the 25th and the 3rd, I'm gonna have to be virtual.
Wait, what? Say that again?
From June
25th.
25th to July 3rd, I will have to be virtual. Well, until July 2nd, I will have to be virtual.
Okay, so that's why you're saying pull it up. Okay.
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
that's-
and it's fine. I can be virtual. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, we've done that before.
Yeah,
Yeah, Deanna has to be here as the clerk, but and you can guide us and be available for
Mhm.
questions and action.
Mhm.
Yeah, so are you okay with doing that?
yeah, I'm perfectly
All
fine
right,
doing
because,
that.
yeah.
So
For
we're
whatever
saying-
reason, this is.
We're saying June 26th unless there is a school board meeting, in which case we'll pull it up a week. That's what we're saying.
I know, mine's not pulling up either.
Till 19th,
No, they're,
No,
Well-
that Thursday would, oh, yeah.
yeah, because right now it's the 23rd, you're saying the 26th, if you pull it forward a week.
that-
well,
Oh,
no, we were talking about moving the work session a week and then the meeting a week, but you could do that too. You could do that too. You could have the action meeting on the 19th. Unless it's the school board.
Well, that's Juneteenth, we probably don't.
Yeah, that is.
Let's do the 16th. Can we just commit to that? Can we just say June 16th? Just
I'm
so-
fine with the 16th.
Will you be ready by the 16th?
For the action meeting?
Well, yeah, with the fourth round stuff.
Yeah,
Gives you-
yeah,
gives you a
planning
week.
board's next Tuesday.
Okay.
Done.
Yeah.
So change the 23rd to the 16th
Yeah.
of June. Thank
That's
you.
pretty common too, too.
Yeah.
Like things come up and we just.
Oh, trust me.
Okay. And Deanna, you'll publish, you're good, okay.
Right, so that's an action meeting, so 7:30 start on that,
Mhm.
16.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep, I'll change that one.
I'll let Mary Beth know. Just to go over some other quick things, yeah, because these are things that are on your meeting tonight. We typically go out every year for RFP for a bunch of our professionals. Some of it are different times of the year. These are the ones that we do now. We also provided you with the list. It's here, it's actually sitting right there, that top spreadsheet there.
yeah.
That's all of our professionals that we
Front and
have.
back.
And it tells you the time of year that we go out and we have
You
awarded.
have that one.
You have it now. So those are things that we will be
Sure.
talking with. Those will all come in for the next meeting and we will be talking about those in our work session because you'll need to make choices on those.
What is the word, what do you mean by conflict? and stuff?
Actually, they may not be in for the work session. Conflict solicitor is if for some reason Sal
Has a conflict,
has an issue with one of the things that we're talking about and can't represent us in something.
or same thing for a planning board, or.
The-
Correct.
Yeah, like either the last bond and if we have.
Correct, it's a fallback
bond,
person.
We have to use the conflicts.
These
Literally,
are
yeah,
the-
that's a prime example, so.
These are.
Yeah,
due
many,
to-
many years ago, when there was a shared service agreement for court services between Audubon and Haddonfield, I stayed out of it.
We can change
So I
that
can't
back.
represent, I can't represent
Change
both, so I
that.
represent neither. Yeah,
But we both
We
have.
can do that on the
extra
floor,
conflicts.
change it on the
Correct.
floor,
yeah.
Okay,
change it on the
But
floor.
We're not talking
Them
about
come
this.
in
in
the
the
No, no,
separate
just,
meetings.
no, well, just to look at.
Well, just to know
Is
that
that
a
enough
lot of these
time?
are, some of these are going out for
10
RFP.
days
Yeah,
for
no, I get it.
anything.
So they're published. here,
Including
1, 2,
solicit-
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
But
Nine
I,
is the
real
ninth.
quick on the
So the 12th.
23rd, we also,
Okay.
June 23rd, I also. have
You don't want to
calendar
change the,
Health, Board of Health, on June
Yeah.
23rd. You
Well,
want to leave it or change it?
no, we'll just cancel that one and have the next one.
I thought the Board of Health was at 6 o'clock.
On the 23rd,
It would have been, we're just gonna cancel that one for right now until we get you guys caught up a little
Oh,
bit.
okay.
yeah, so,
You are technically only need to have one of those a year.
right,
Oh, right.
we have them once per
Yeah.
quarter, so
Oh,
that,
that's great. It's on my calendar for
Yeah.
7.
yeah, so we'll
Right.
cancel that one on the 23rd, the
wanna
Board of
change the other?
Health, and the Commissioner
About that.
Action Meeting will be a week
Okay.
advanced.
if I
the
can, do you
16th.
want me?
Oh, no, thanks.
And we'll just cancel that Board of Health meeting.
Yeah.
For the 23rd.
So the draft agenda for this evening. You
I
gonna s-
will have items to change. The first resolutions, which are the ones about the, who's in what
She's gonna leave. in a few
department and that
minutes to get down
stuff. I'm
to
gonna
that.
put those together and I'll bring those up to you right before the 7:30 meeting.
The other one, I'm hoping that we can close for a few minutes to talk about, just so we have it on as a.
Today
resolution.
or at the end of
It's
the?
right now.
Yeah, right now.
Like
Okay,
in
yeah,
2
we can
minutes.
go close.
Yeah, just because we need to, you have a resolution taking
Can we just go into
action.
the kitchen?
We certainly can.
So nobody else has to move?
Nobody else has to move.
All right. Yeah.
Kitchen, or you can come downstairs?
Do you want to announce it?
Yeah, whichever. But wait, just so I'm gonna make sure there's nothing else. The rest of the items on the agenda, it's here, a lot of this stuff is stuff you're gonna get used to. A lot of it is just basic action items that we need to take to keep running the government. We're applying for a grant. Yeah, and then, we're also, when I was down at the Conference of Mayors last week, the shared courts, we have 6 towns that are in a shared court. They're applying for a LEAP implementation grant, and they asked that we support that grant because we're one of the 6 towns. That resolution is on here.
All right.
So
Standing for,
we're going into closed for Boxwood,
Oh,
I just need to talk with you.
Sure.
I'm assuming we're moving forward that. I just need
Can you
to,
close the neck for a moment?
Yeah, I just-
Explain to us.
I just need to,
All right, yeah.
because we
No more-
do need
no
to
more
move forward with that one, and I just want to have a chance to talk to you about it.
LEAP standing for what? What's
I
that?
don't,
Leadership?
no, it's,
The-
What is the details behind that? Because the resolution wasn't ready yet when.
the LEAP.
Yeah,
So, so Summerdale right now is the lead agency. They had 4 municipalities. They could fit everything in their court. 2 more municipalities joined. It now became 6. They could no longer fit everything. So Runnymede, they actually moved the courts to Runnymede. Runnymede had to make some improvements to their building for the expansion of their court. The grant is to try and get reimbursement for the expansion of the court.
all right, this has nothing to do with like first responders.
No,
Okay,
that
that's
was
what I
done.
thought.
No, that
All
one
right,
was done.
all right. Yeah, I'm fine.
We were the lead agency on that one. This one is solely, this is the court and them just trying to get funding back for
Something.
something
Gotcha.
they've already done.
Husband to go downstairs
All right,
until.
I'm cool.
Yeah, we can go.
Call from me, and you can play with the kids over there. Oh, that'd be good. Okay.
All right.
So is there anything else before we?
You gotta go into close,
And when we come out of close,
no action.
there'll be no action because we have the action meeting at
We'll
7:30.
be adjoining.
And we'll just adjourn.
Yeah,
We'll adjourn from close,
yes.
just to let everybody know. We'll come
You
out.
technically have to come out,
We will.
then we adjourn, and then we'll see everybody at 7:30.
And we have
Right,
to.
which will probably be close anyway. Do you want to just go into the kitchen?
Yeah, just go to the kitchen.
Okay.
You'd ask